Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. This is your update video. I usually do these once a week. This one just happens to be on Sunday. Usually I do them on Saturday. Things got really behind, so I had to get some stuff done. Lots to talk about. Let's start off with the one that's probably the most important right now is the small block Ford Cam Challenge. If you don't have your cam in, you need to get it in because all the pieces are pretty much finished. And let me explain. This is the intake that's here. I finished porting it yesterday. The heads, they're here and they're done. Well, I gotta finish milling them and then assembling them. That will be done today. I'm taking this intake, those heads, and the lifters, which I'll show you later, to Dunsworth Machine on Thursday. He will put the engine together, get our initial dyno test done with it, and then we can set up a week to start testing all the cams. If you're curious about any of that stuff, in the description for this video, there'll be a link to donate to the Small Block Ford Cam Challenge. When you donate, the funds go to help pay, the dyno sessions and stuff, but also to pay the winnings for the winner of this. But when you get that, you get all the data that goes along with this. So I'm going to update, so if you already donated, I'm going to update that link that you have, so you have the new flow numbers, the new CC, because I still got to CC the head, and the new stuff with the intake manifold and all that. All that data you would have for the Small Block Ford Cam Challenge will be in that link, including cam cards, but not yet. Once the engines ran, everybody has a week to get their cams in from that point. Most of them are here, and I'll show you what I've got so far here in just a second. But you'll get to see all the cam cards. I'm waiting to drop those until, like I said, until I get the engine running. Then I'm going to probably, you got 1 week, and hopefully everybody's got them in by then anyway. And then I can release those all to the people who donated. Don't worry though if you didn't donate. Eventually they're all going to end up on the channel anyway. So if you're like, you cheap guy, I want to see them. Well, they're going to end up on the channel. Don't worry. But I have to say the heads are way better than I thought. So I did have Chris modify some things, and I still think if he did some more tweaking on what he does with the program, I think he can make it better. So the heads are really, really good. So for instance, just to go with this, for those that are just new to the channel, I had done a master. So a 240cc CNC head was sent to me from TrickFlow. I had ported beyond that, and it ended up 250 cc's or 255. I can't remember exactly, but it was really, really good. Sent it off to Chris Straub to get digitized, and came back, and there was a hole in it in 2 of the ports. So I had to redesign the intake port to give it more material in that area. And then since I was doing that, I was like, well, I'll just change the whole thing. And let me kind of explain. When the 240 head's phenomenal as it is, but when I'm overdoing that casting, I can't add material that's already gone. But if I start with a brand new porter's casting, it's already got smaller in a lot of areas, so I can change the shape of things. And so that's essentially what I did, is I made a brand new model, but I made it smaller in areas. So the downside is if you had a 240 CNC head, you can't send it in to make it updated to the bigger version that's this, because the machine would touch areas that aren't there. So there'd be not necessarily voids, but it won't be this exact port mold. So I have to start with a whole new porter's casting. These heads are going to be available through me and Chris Straub. Anyway, long way of saying there was some redesign. The exhaust port stayed the same. The chamber stayed the same. Only the intake port changed. We added about 70 thousandths. I added more material in the area where it had a hole, so things should be good to go from here on out. Glad it was my heads instead of a customer's heads. But anyway, they're bad. They're bad to the bone. I know that's a long way of saying, but the heads turned out a lot better, at least in certain areas. Some spots and some of the iterations, it was better before, especially in the lower lifts. But the 700 number has never been better. It's really, really good. So very, very impressed by what it's done. Just to give you an idea, and this will be in the link that's for the people that donate. I have 2 flow benches, so I'm flowing on both. The Science is more conservative. So Matt at MBE claims he's the only one that guarantees his flow numbers. No, I do too. I guarantee him off the Science bench. The Superflow reads higher, but I give that number anyway to customers just so they could feel better. But Signs is probably more accurate. Anyway, on the signs bench, it read 280 CFM at 400 valve lift. That's outstanding. And now it had, the best it's ever done is 284. So it's 4 off from that. At 500, it's now 330. It's been 334. So it's 4 CFM down there. But 600, that's where things change. It's now 343 CFM at 600 valve lift. And it was 337. At 700, it's 354 on that bench. So it's outstanding compared to 344 before. So it's 10 up. It goes 356 peak on that bench. Exhaust flow went 253. Here's what's interesting. So I floated on the Superflow just because, one, it's got the swirl meter on there, so I could see what the swirl was doing and give you guys that data as well. But they kind of match and kind of don't. So for instance, at 400 valve lift, the sign said 280. Guess what this one said? 280. At 500, the Superflow said 331. The sign said 330. So they're 1 off there. At 600, the Superflow is saying 352 compared to 343. So it's about 10 up there on the Superflow. On 700, the Superflow says 363. And of course, it's 354 on the signs. This on the Superflow. Oh, by the way, and I've got the video, I'm probably splicing it as we're talking. That went 371 on that bench. And I know you're like, well, that's because that bench reads higher. If that's the case, then how come it's reading higher? It reads the same at the lower lifts. So it's just a difference in benches, but I only give that to you anyway. So if you're really wanting to, most people flow on a Superflow, by the way, 372 CFM. So yeah, on that. Regardless, either way, even on those numbers, 352 or 354 CFM at 700 valve lift, it should make some steam. The only thing that that kind of might hold this back is the compression ratio. So on this still we're 11.2 to 1 because the chamber's like 70 cc's, which I feel kind of bad because it's probably going to make around 700, maybe 720. You're like, that's it for that amount of flow? It's the compression. You would like to think that you could have a head that flows 400 CFM and it would make more power. Compression's still going to limit you. It's just the laws that it is. Especially in the range they're running. We're going 5,500, 7,500 RPM. So maybe it'll make more, but if this was a higher compression deal, this thing would probably be making like 770 or so. But regardless, it should be great. The intake's been matched to that and it should be fine. I did some trickery into this. I won't tell you all about it. I like to keep some of my stuff secrets, even though if you look at it, you wouldn't even see what I've done. You would have to have measured and feel it. And then you'd be like, oh, gotcha. Anyway, it's ready to go. So I got to final mill this head because you'll see, I'll probably put a picture in here, but there's 3 passes that it makes when it comes off the machine as it gets from trick flow. I have to final mill it to get it flat, which removes about 6 thousandths, and that gives you 70 cc chamber. I'm going to reconfirm that chamber just to make sure before I do anything, but I said before to the competitor it was 70, and I bet it's still 70. Anyway, I'm going to put them together tonight, and it should be good to go. Now for the small block Chevy Cam Challenge. This is different. The small block Chevy Cam Challenge, you have till June 1st to get your entries in. This is a different deal. So the Ford is just one, you get to make one pull with your cam. 5,500 to 7,500 RPM. And that's it, it's NA. But on the Chevy, well, it's different. I haven't really determined the RPM range yet, but it's probably about 7,000. So I'm thinking probably 5 to 7,000. I really don't want to spin it up higher than that. Not that there's anything wrong with doing it, no, but whatever. It's a hydraulic roller cam compared to the saw roller for the Ford. But the biggest difference for the Chevy is, 1, it's fuel injected, and 2, it's on E85. 3, you make 3 dyno runs. You make one NA, and then you make one with about 5 pounds of boost, and then one with about 10 pounds of boost. And we see how you do, and that's how your cams are scored. That one's different. So it's a much, we'll find out. The goal with that one, by the way, in case you're wondering why you're doing that, we're going to see if there's a correlation with having a good cam for NA versus with boost. Now this is a supercharger, not a turbocharger, but maybe we'll get some kind of answers. This isn't a crazy amount of boost. So maybe if we put like 20 or 15, maybe we'd see bigger difference, I would think, on that. But the problem is that's just more runs in the engine, because this is probably going to have like 15 cams in it. So the thing does have to kind of survive. Not that it wouldn't, but I don't want to risk it and then some competitors not get a chance to compete. So speaking of it, the heads that are on it are a set of Dragon Slayers of mine. They're my 4060 CNC heads. They flow 340 something CFM. I'm also putting a link in the description for this video as well to donate to the Small Block Chevy Cam Challenge. You'll be giving all the data that goes with it. I already have the flow numbers because Kuntz is actually building. So Kuntz, who write names on this intake, they're building the Small Block Chevy Cam Challenge engine. They did the short block for the Ford. Gary's putting the rest of that together at Dunsworth Machine. But Kuntz is building the entire small block one, Chevy. And I've already sent him the heads, sent him the rockers, the block, the rotating assembly, lifters, shaft rockers. The only thing I don't have, because I don't have it finished yet, is this intake manifold that I'm going to try to work on today sometime. But oddly enough, this is a weird story, so bear with me. So you want to run a business, here's some of the things that can happen. So, and it has to do with the same 4060 head. That's why this head's here. Because if you want to buy this head, I would sell it to you, because if not, it's going back to Brodix. Short story long, I ordered 5 sets of 4060 CNC or 4060 spacing Dragon Slayers. It's a special order deal. These things are insanely expensive. I mean, the castings alone are almost $2,000. No porting. It's like, as you see, are almost $2,000. This one's a special case though, but I ordered 5, but one was different. And the one that was different was like this. So as you can see it, do you see anything missing? How about this side? Do you see anything missing? Okay. One of my customers, he wanted the head solid. That's what this head is. So as you can tell, it's truly solid. It has no water passages at all. There's no water for it here, here, here. There's nothing. It's solid. It's a solid head. You might say, why would you ever do that? Well, if you're like a, I don't know, a grudge racer, or say you're doing the no prep scene and you're running on methanol with turbos, this is perfect. You never have to worry about blowing a head gasket, water into the cylinder ever, because there's no water running through the head. But consequently, you can't go driving this on the street, obviously. But the head is so thick, it'd be very hard for you anyway to blow a head gasket, just because of the density of this entire thing. I mean, the deck, how thick's the deck? The entire head. But there's also, even if it did happen to blow a head gasket, there's no water that would go in. It would just be a flame issue. Anyway, I only ordered one of them like that. By chance, they messed up the order Brodix did, and they sent me 2 like this. Now, Brodix is going to work with me and send me the correct one, or I'm going to send this one back, and they'll send me the one that should be, which one should have just like this, but with water. But since I'm putting out this video, if you're interested in buying it, I would sell it to you. So I'm not taking a loss on this for sure, because it's not my mistake, and I'm tired of taking losses on stuff that's not my mistakes. But anyway, if you're interested, I do have a CNC program for it. So actually, this is how the head looks before it ever gets CNC ported. And these are the port design that will be in this is the same one that's used for that cam challenge for the small block Chevy. So if you want to see how much they actually flow, you can donate, and then you'll get to see what they flow. And they are pretty good. They're like 347 CFM, pretty good. They have a 63 cc chamber, can't go any smaller. Can go bigger though if you want to do that. They can also have chamber softening. You do a bunch of other stuff. Anywho, if you're interested, just email me at wagonerracing@gmail.com. If not, these are going back to Brodix, so I can get the correct ones. If you think that's the only thing that's happened that, oh, awesome, love to own a business. Let me tell you this weird story. And it has to do with a package that looks like this. See, it says guides. If you notice, whenever I get the heads, I have them not install the guides, because whenever they do the CNC porting, they don't do it with the guides installed. You know, honestly, looking back, I probably should have had them digitized with the guide in, so this way I could just have them guides in, they cut around them. But in fairness, I don't like to do that, because I like for that hole in the center of the guide to be perfectly centered. So when the pilot goes in there, it's better, it keeps things more concentric when you're doing the valve job. That's why. But anyway, so they usually leave the guides like this in the box. You wouldn't think of such a big deal, but And when I was away at Bob's, I sent them off to get ported. So it's my port design, but I have someone else who has a CNC machine that actually ports them. And he does a great job. Charges enough for it, for sure. Anyway, I was gone to Bob's and Dynoing, Bob McVeigh's, and I was gone the whole week. So of course, the 1 week I'm gone, my son's here or my wife's here, typically most times, but not this time. So of course, it required a signature, and after 3 attempts, instead of being just held at the local UPS thing, it got sent back to the person that ported it. And then they sent it back. And then I was like, yay, I can get a job done, finally, you know, because it's further behind. And then I see this. In case you're wondering what you're looking at, what happened was this package of guides, like this, broke free. And so the guides were rolling around in the box, and you know, UPS could give 2 cares about what's in the box. Slam that son of a gun. Who gives a shit, you know? It's a Friday, or it's a Thursday. Hell, it's a Tuesday. It doesn't matter. Anyway, somehow they broke. By the way, inside this, there's a plastic bag where they're actually stapled. It broke all of that. And then, not only, I mean, how hard do you hit the head to do that? But whatever. The guides came loose, and of course the head, because the guide rolled underneath the head, slammed into the intake face. Of all places, the intake face. It couldn't have been maybe here, or even, God forbid, back here on the exhaust flange where nothing's hitting. No, it has to be an actual critical steering phase. Hell, I would have taken the deck, because I still have to mill them off anyway. And this is what I mean by the 3 passes. You can see one here, one through here, one through here. So it's not final milled anyway, so big deal. But no, here. So now it has to be welded and then faced again, all because of a shipping thing. So another loss of more money. Thank you, UPS. Appreciate it. And the whole time I'm thinking, if it just hadn't been done on that week, like if it just hadn't been shipped here, taken 3 days, so they drop it 3 times, and then back to North Carolina, and then back to here, this probably wouldn't have happened. Welcome to running a business. Anyway, a couple other things. On Thursday, I told you I was going back to Dunsworth. It's because I'm going to dyno this engine. This engine that you're looking at, it's the Circle Track engine. So this is a Ford, I think it was a 415, but I think it's been bored over like 5,000s or something now, so it's probably like a 416 or something. Anyway, it's got 13.5 to 1 compression. It's got my old Dragon Slayers on it. These are 242 cc's. These didn't have a wing. This is before I was CNC porting them. This has a Holley 300-110. I had ported that one. This was using an IMCA A mod. You guys probably have different names for each class or whatever. But it was very successful. It won some races, got redone, and this is what it is. So when they put it back in the car, like, this doesn't feel as good. Nothing wrong with the way Lucid built the engine, but they didn't let me redo the heads because they wanted to do it their own, which is fine. But it's down on power, they say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that to Dunsworth on Thursday, and we're going to re-dyno and see how much of a difference is between the first time I dynoed it, where it made 697 horsepower, and I think it was like 610 foot-pounds of torque. We're going to re-dyno it and see how it does. I'm also going to do a couple changes. So this week, I also bought a Holley XP 750 carburetor. Partly because the ATM carburetor that's on Bishop's Nova, it works great, except for, I told you it's got a little weird thing. At idle, you have to have it rich so that when you're in cruise, it's not lean. And before someone says power valve, tried and failed, it's still not on the main, it hasn't entered the main jet area yet. It's transition phase. That transitional slot's what's the problem is. Or something within that tuning area. It hasn't main jet. The power valve did nothing. It changed absolutely nothing. Because I raised it from the 6.5 that was on it to the 10.5, which is the largest one I could find. It made no difference. It is not the issue. So I don't know. And again, it's working fine now. It drives fine. The car drives fine. It's got plenty of power. It's responsive and everything like that. It just idles 11.5 to 1, which you'd think it smells rich. And I've been waiting to do a video about this. That means that the reason why your exhaust smells rich, it's not even so much the air-fuel ratio. It's the overlap of the cam. And I know I'm going to get some hate on this, but this is the truth. So just a little, make a long story short, long story longer. Tony, which you've seen on my channel, he brought his Chevelle over because he has the 406 that you saw us dyno a long time ago in the video. Anyway, he put on Terminator X and he asked me to look at some of the tune because it was doing some weird stuff. At 13.5 to 1 on idle, he smelled rich. That 350 that's in Bishop's Nova at 11.5 to 1 does not smell rich at idle. It doesn't, even though the O2 is definitely showing it's rich, it doesn't smell that way. And the reason for it is the camshaft. Tony's has way more overlap so that you're smelling the unburnt fuel coming out because it's just not efficient at idle with that overlap of the cam. Meanwhile, the one that's in Bishop's car, it's a smooth running deal, has very little overlap, and due to that, you don't have as much, obviously, of the unburnt fuel or coming out the exhaust. It's not smelling that way. And you're like, well, the O2 sensor should only measure the, you're right. But O2 sensor only measures oxygen, not fuel. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the overlap makes it smell richer than anything else. But anyway, that's only the issue that's with the ATM carburetor. So I'm going to pull that off too and take it with me. So I'm going to pull off the ATM carburetor on his because I want to get the wide open throttle right. Currently, I can't do a whole lot of wide open throttle testing with Bishop's car because it doesn't have the windows in, it doesn't have insurance, it doesn't have a tag. So it's not a great idea because, and also you're like, well, let Bishop drive it. Old Speedy Gonzalez this week got pulled over by the cops in his Camaro for going 10 over. Luckily, they put it at 9 under, so it wouldn't go on his insurance. Probably will anyway. But old Speedy finally got his first ticket. Am I mad as a dad? No, I'm kind of disappointed because I'd hope he wouldn't have done that. But I'm more mad because he left late, and to make up time, he thought he would speed. And I don't know how many times I've told him this. Speeding in town gives you no extra time. Just go the speed limit. There's no sense in speeding ever inside of a town. Unless your wife's pregnant and you think you can get there within 3 minutes quicker. If you're lucky, you can do that speeding. You're still going to get stopped at lights or behind some old person that's going slow. Anyway, you got a ticket. So Speedy has already gotten one. I don't want to risk another one. By the way, am I upset with him again? Back to that? No, because by his age, I'd already had 2. So he is behind me. So, you know, whatever. He's paying for the ticket, ain't been me. Guarantee that. He is going to work in the shop though. And you're like, well, aren't you paying if you work in the shop? No, because all the money is from his lifeguarding stuff. But he is going to work in the shop this summer, which is going to help out the workload for me. Thank God. Because I can't even hardly get in the grinding room for all the little jobs I get done, like pushing in guides like this, doing the valve job, doing the milling, and stuff he could do. So I could grind. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that besides to say, oh, Speedy got a ticket, so I can't test a whole lot of wide open throttle with that ATM carburetor on that. So I'm going to grab that, grab the XP, my 1000 CFM Demon that's already still there. Probably going to do some Dominator testing, and I got to show you this. Huge shout out to one of my viewers. His name is Josh Wooten. He is one of probably my most adamant fans. Thank you. Great kid. Sorry I cannot go to California to watch you race. I do love going to circle track races. I ain't even been to one drag race yet this year, so I've failed in all areas. There's just not enough time. The biggest thing is I can't afford it. So I can't afford to go out to California to watch you race, even though I would love to see other people race. I wish YouTube, like I wish I had Cletus money where I could just do whatever, but I ain't got Cletus viewers either, or Cletus merchandise. But anyway, thank you because he sent me the Facebook link so I could purchase these adapters. This is the 4500 to 4150 adapter, or the 4150 to 4500 adapter. This is the old style HVH. Someone on Facebook actually had it. They had it on a boat, and they had 2 of them, so I bought both. Cheaper, by the way, than buying almost one of the new style, brand new. So I'm going to test all of those on this engine as well. By the way, several of you mentioned, hey, why don't, you know, I guarantee you the Dominator on the dual plane would have been different if your 4150 had annular boosters. I know I talked weird, and that's probably not appropriate. I get it, but sometimes that's just what I hear. If you watch the other videos I did, you would know my Demon actually has annular boosters, 1000 CFM annular boosters. That didn't have anything to do with it. It just didn't. I wish it did. It'd be an easier explanation because my boosters on the Demon are removable. So I can do the down leg versus annular. So I've already done that. But anyway, testing that on that. So we can see, hopefully I can get the air fuel ratios right with the ATM, although it's a way different engine, so I'm not gonna mess with necessarily the idle parts, but the wide open I can get closer. So that's that. And I guess the last thing to say is tomorrow my son graduates. He's gonna graduate from high school. So I am proud that he has done it. He has hated school, but he still does it, which I'm like, good for you, buddy. Now you know what life's like. You got to do things you hate to do. And anyway, he graduates tomorrow. He'll be one of 1,300 graduates from Broken Arrow High School. And we're going to wait and hear his name and be super proud. So I can't wait. And he has a graduation party for those that know him or are friends of his. I'm putting this announcement there because I was supposed to put it on Facebook or whatever, and I realized none of those people are on Facebook because they're too young, and young people aren't really on Facebook. But anyway, yeah, he's got a graduation party or whatnot. So yeah, I'm sure there's other stuff I'm leaving out, but I feel like this video's already got long with me rambling, and I still have a lot of editing. So enter the small block Chevy Cam challenge. You have till June 1st to get that in. Small block Ford's coming up really, really soon, so get on that. And I don't pour cast iron heads. I am not Superman. I did race Superboy. You guys take care.